I call to order the Board of Trustees special meeting Tuesday, January 10th, 2022, and the time is 6 p.m. Mr. Johnson, could you please lead us in the invocation?
Back to stand by your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for our citizens of Etna. Thank you for having the freedoms that we have here, providing us a good life here, I believe. Pray for those who are out there protecting our freedoms, who are standing in the line of fire, and I pray for those families as they miss their loved ones when they're gone. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. I move to adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Oh, discussion.
I'm sorry, discussion.
Yes, I know we cannot amend the agenda because it's a special meeting, but I would just like to say I'm disappointed to see that public comments were removed from this agenda. There's important business of the township on here that I think we should hear from our residents on. And also I think the board should seek input from all trustees in compiling these agendas.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson. Roll call, Mrs. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. There's no minutes there's no minutes today, so we will have those back on the 17th at our regular meeting. I'll move that. Is there a second?
There's nothing to move on the minutes.
Okay, so I didn't know if we still had to.
No, just drop down to.
All right. New business, resolution 2201. 2301 1001, resolution employing township's attorney on the annual basis for the year of 2023 for the sum of $30,000 as presented. I move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Do we need to name?
Oh.
Do we need to name
Well,
the attorneys or just attorneys in general, or
This is going to be for, I'm sorry, for,
any legal advice, or?
yeah, it's actually, this amount is just strictly for Mr. Griggs' office, Peter Griggs' office, which is Julie, Donna, and Griggs. It's just for their law firm only.
In the body of the resolution presented, it lists them out with their hours.
Oh, okay. I see that now. Thank you.
Roll call.
But live discussion, I don't know if Mr. Johnson's done with his
I'm
comments.
finished.
You're finished? Okay. Yeah, I do have some concerns about this. We had a similar resolution last year which limited it to $10,000. It was exceeded by the chairperson by over $31,000. And that resolution ended in the end of 22. The chairperson has continued to direct the firm to incur fees which were not authorized at the beginning of this year. And I'm glad to see that we're taking some action to actually authorize those fees, but I'm concerned that there's an ongoing basis which resolutions and that are not being adhered to. There was no appropriations when, again, fees were being incurred. This does not indicate a person who would be a contact or the designee. I would highly suggest that it not be the board president. due to the prior transgressions, that all actions be referred to by the board. So I would move that the resolution be amended to, in section 1, read, with such matters as may be referred to said council by the board, and remove the on behalf or its designee, so that all actions are sent to them by the board in public session, and that we can have more control, because we do have the prosecutor's office, which is free, and many of these matters being referred to this outside counsel are matters that our prosecutor can handle. The original intent was that Brocious and Griggs, Brocious, Johnson, and Griggs would handle economic development matters. And they've been directed by the chairperson to handle much more without board action. So that's my motion, to remove the on behalf of and its designee, so that only the board can refer such matters to outside counsel. Point of order, should a second be called?
Is there a second? So it dies for lack of second. Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I will go ahead and refer the fiscal officer report in motion, please. Mrs. Varian.
I don't have a report.
Okay. We'll move over to the resolution 2301-1002 purchase order. I would like to move that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes, I do have a question about this purchase order. For the fourth account from the bottom, 1000-110-223- for Ohio Insurance Services Agency for Dental, Vision, and Life. As a prosecutor indicated that the board passed the vision for this year that was actually an increase in benefits, which we as trustees and fiscal officers, elected officials, cannot take. There's been no action on that, so I'm not sure if it's appropriate to pay the vision with those increased benefits, which are not allowed per Ohio Revised Code. Ms. Barrett, is that part of this PO, the vision?
Well, it's included in the plan, so what I mostly need to know is that, according to the prosecutor, I need to take $5 or something extra out of all public officials' paychecks if we just so choose to use it.
But I thought it was a short, no, I thought it was less.
It is, but it's either a change in, any change in benefits, better or worse.
Yeah.
It can't be done. But these are an increase in benefits, which is $5 and something a month.
Yeah, but what you have right now, does that include the $5 or no?
The premium does not change,
Okay,
but we're getting a $5 a month more benefit,
okay.
in essence, that we would have to pay out of our paychecks. If we want
To go with the new.
to go with the new, which I don't know if we
And that's just for vision? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
It's been a while since we.
Because I don't have vision. I'm not on my two townships.
yeah.
Is there an email that states that it would have to be withdrawn? Because what I got from the prosecutor was there can't be any increase or decrease which would include paying for it. I just want to make sure we follow the law.
There isn't a change in premium, but there's an increase of about $5 a month in benefits to officials. So
It's not
that's where we have to, if you want to participate in that program, even though it doesn't change the cost, we still have to pay $5 out of our paycheck a month to participate in that program.
Has it been researched if we can just keep the program that we're on and not increase any benefits, not increase any costs? Ms. McKee, you put this forward. Have you researched this or done anything with this?
First of all, let's back up a little bit, Mrs. Berry. I just want to explain that it's a savings to the township if we decide to go. It's like $60-something if we decided, or if we wait till May. Things change, our benefit package changes in May. So if we just leave it as is, we just leave it what it is, it's what it is. It doesn't, or we can just wait till May when it's the time for us, our changes to be made as far as our benefits. But I've never seen an email that is an additional $5 out per pay. I've never seen anything like that.
I haven't seen that. What I've seen is that it has to be either rescinded or changed where the trustees do not get that as part of the plan, and I'm not sure if that's possible to segregate the trustees and fiscal officer from employees. And I thought the benefits, because there was a $200 additional benefit, and again, I just want to comply with the law, so
Well, just to be clear, it's what is being offered to us by DSP is not us making the changes or asking for the changes. It's them as a corporation that made the change. So they're just offering it to us. It's been at the prosecutor's office for months now. So we really don't, when I talked to Frank Harmon just yesterday, he made it clear, he's our guy that is our contact for the insurance. And it's $69, I think, a year would save the township if we did go with that. So if we just leave it alone, we just leave it alone. It's not going to cost us anything. We just stay where we are. So that's fine as well.
I would disagree because Frank Harmon said there was no increase of benefits. The prosecutor said there was an increase, and there was no increase in premium or decrease. It's the same premium. But the prosecutor did state that some action needs to be taken. And I'm concerned there's none. Ms. Berrien is not allowed to now contact Frank Harmon. So these are the only contact. I believe this should be addressed. So to keep us compliant with the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay. Mrs. Berrien, this is what you included in the budget. Was it included or not included in the budget?
It wasn't included in the budget.
It was?
It was just the same premium.
Okay, so then we're fine. We could just support, that's fine. If it's the same. That's fine. Okay. Call for the question.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
We'll deal with that separately.
I make a motion to ratify the payment of the bills, and I'd like to move. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None.
Mr. Evans?
Yes, I did have a question on your cell phone. I've noticed that it continues to get an unpaid balance because you only authorized, or this board only authorized $69.
Yeah.
And is there a reason that that's not being addressed
Yeah,
after
well-
all this time?
Yeah, I addressed it actually December 13th, and it looks like they didn't do what they were supposed to do, but I addressed it again yesterday. So I got an email from them yesterday, so the bill will still be $69, which will include the insurance. And they are also going to remove the tax. They were charging us tax, even though we had an EIN number that was completed the day that I opened up the account. They had it in their hand. I sent it again on December 13th still. So as of yesterday, we will have credit. and they will take the tax off as well. So we're going to get back down to its normal $69 a month.
I would just suggest in the future that anything like this, just have an amount up to $100 or something to avoid these kind of issues.
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I also didn't specify normally we put the month in here, but in the discussion I can add that it was for the first meeting of the month bills. The list, normally we have a date or something in there, and I didn't.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. So this is, well,
It was presented at this meeting.
yeah, so we know it's okay. Thank you, Lord, for the catch. Appreciate it, Ms. Brown. Call for the question.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes. Okay, thank you. I would like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Joe. He is here to do some training. He's the principal of parliamentary procedures, educational training, and here he is with us tonight. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
He's talking to you. So thank you.
No.
You want the mic?
Yeah.
Mike? Isn't
No,
it?
no, no. You want
He's got a mic there.
Yeah, Mike. Is this
He
on?
sits.
Thank you.
Or you want
There, we'll leave it on.
Okay.
All right. What just happened was
Do you want the handheld so you can move around?
I'm good. If you can't hear me, raise your hand, I'll speak louder. Fair enough? Good. Mike, you be my choice on that, so.
It's John.
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 Okay. What just happened was the chair, I would generally address the chair and say, Madam Chair, may I address the chair? And she would say, yes. And I would say, Madam Chair, for this portion of the agenda, for this purpose of the training session, may I assume all the duties and responsibilities of the chair? Yes. Thank you. I just took over this meeting, okay, on that discipline. I just took over for how long a period of time did I take it over? For this item on the agenda. I mentioned that to her. If I would have said to her, Madam Chairperson, may I assume the duties and responsibilities of the chair? She said, yes. I'll decide when I want to give that back. All right, so we have to be cautious on when it's like giving the pulpit of a pastor up to a stranger in the congregation. Okay, so that discipline you've just gone through. Point of order? Someone called point of order? Yes, sir? Did you call point of order?
No, sir.
Okay, somebody here.
He wants you to.
I did.
Here, did I hear it?
Point of order.
Oh, point of order's been called. We'll play that game all day long here, all throughout the meeting. I'm going to be calling on you just here. This is an educational setting. Okay. It only works if you would just, and I'll just drag it out until you do, brother. Point of order. So that means that somebody in this meeting here believes that we have violated one of the rules of parliamentary meeting. So my next question is, chairperson, state your point. He would state his point. My response as chairperson is going to be, point well taken. Chair stands corrected. A decision has just been made. Point well taken. The chair stands corrected. Gavel goes down. I made a decision. So what goes in the minutes, you ask? Ask me. Yes, go ahead.
We'll go to
the minute.
Nice question. I'm telling you, this group is great. What must go in the minutes are any decisions, dates, deadlines, and dollars. That's what's got to go into those meetings. Everything else in those meetings, everything, depending upon what you select to be in the minutes. You can have them, you don't have to have them. Dates, deadlines, dollars, decisions. Next question. Chair would like to move to a brief pause in the meeting. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we'll move to a brief pause. What did I just do? I could have said another way and said, Chair would entertain a motion for recess, and you would say,
I motion to recess.
motion must be a second. Why must there be a second? Because I'm taking some privileges away from the rest of you. I'm taking your time away from you during this meeting. Okay, so I'm taking your time. So, thank you. Who was that that seconded? Yes, yes! You moved it, and you seconded it. All right. So it's probably moved to second that we move into a period of recess. Non-debatable, but it can be amendable. How long do you want to move into recess? 5 minutes? Yes? I'll accept your amendment. And what was your amendment?
5 minutes.
I amend the motion to include 5 minutes. The words 5 minutes. Been properly moved and seconded. Oh, is there a second on that amendment? Yes! Isn't it amazing? It is true. Dr. Harakawa from Hawaii wrote a book called The Metal Message. 65% of all communications is like this. Amazing. Because we know what that means. When I had students and children, I still make children. No, say something to me. Say it. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that the motion's been properly moved and seconded. We have an amendment to the motion that we insert the words for 5 minutes. We have a second for that. We have a motion. Now, we got to deal with the amendment before we deal with the motion. So all in favor of the amendment of adding, and Madam Secretary, would you, Mr. Secretary, would you please read that motion back to us? Mr. Secretary, would read that motion back to us. He would say who moved the motion. You move motions. You make cakes. Okay? The motion was moved. Second was offered. Second moved. Okay, so second, we now proceed to vote. All those in favor of inserting to the main motion for 5 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Division of the House. What did he do? We called division. Yes, division of the House was called.
I've got a question.
Yes.
So, who's supposed to call from, to the recess? The trustees or the crowd? Who does the second? Is the crowd or the trustees?
I think he's using the
I
crowd.
don't know.
All of you are trustees. All of you have duties and responsibilities for the chair. All of you. Now,
You need more
so let's go back to the original question here.
Sorry.
No, you're right on. You're right on. Here, rule of thumb. If I'm trying to explain something to you and you don't understand it, who owns the responsibility of having you understand that? You or me? Say me. I got to find another way then to explain it to you. The rule of communication. It's not your fault. Let me find another way to say that to you. All right. Your question was, so who controls that? Who controls whether we move into that or not? You do. You do. Okay? Right now, all of you are trustees. You have the duties and responsibilities of trustees. Let's just make that assumption. Okay. All right? So now you vote on it. Whether it's a great question, you vote on it, whether or not we move into, well, now we're dealing with the amendment. The amendment is for 5 minutes. All those in favor? Say, any discussion, by the way? Hearing none, let's proceed to vote on the amendment to the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. I think we already did that, and I moved into division of the House. We moved that. Division of the House says, I didn't get that quite straight. I didn't know whether the yeas or nays. Got that. So somebody called division of the House. Okay, so that means that he wants us to do a visual count. That's what he means. That's what he wants from us. Fair enough. So all those in favor of inserting 5 minutes into the main motion, please raise your please raise your hand. Madam Mr. Secretary, please say count.
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 You gotta count all
Oh, I
of
got to count, okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, double, 6, 7, 8. I have 8.
And opposed, same sign?
Yes, that's some.
Hey, exactly. Play along.
A lot of abstentions.
The amendment to the motion passes. We'll now move to the main motion. The main motion on the floor is, Mr. Secretary, what was the main motion?
Main motion was not 5 minutes,
To
it was for
recess. To recess. Okay. All those in favor of, because we've had a motion with the amendment, now we recess for 5 minutes. Any debate on that? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those who like to recess for 5 minutes, please raise. Please say yay.
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 And who opposed?
No. Nays have it.
Recount.
Divided house.
Yeah. Here, let's see when I was going to order that one in. Here, we're going to get to that one. Here, motion carries. Motion carries. We're now in recess. Now, or I could have asked. Now, here's the two ways you can handle it. I could, as chairperson, say we would like to move into a period of short pause. Any objection? Hearing none, we'll move into a short pause. I can just say we can do that. But it didn't pass. So what we have to do is move in. I still want a break, so we can move into recess. That's how you handle a main motion, an amendment to a motion. Okay. Take care if there's an amendment. How many times can I amend a motion? Say 3.
3.
You've read the book. Yeah. I can amend that motion 3 times. That's generally the rule of thumb. How many times that thing can be amended? But, thank you again for asking this. All the amendments have to deal with the main motion. I can't put something else in there. Now, at the federal level, they do that. Never mind. Okay.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Drainring, on my way?
No, ask questions.
Is there then what's the real difference between a pause versus a recess?
Pause does not need a second, does not need a vote. It is just a statement from the chair. That's why you go after a pause first. If there's no objection, bam, we're into it. And the chair then, if the pause passes, then the chair says, we stand to recess. Okay, or we stand to pause. Okay, so we're just standing to pause. Now, when can that come back? Well, you can add to that, or recess. You can add to recess. If this thing gets to a motion, you can add to recess. Hey, until the chair calls the meeting to order again. Again, or you could put a time period to it. Okay. The reason that I went after a pause, the reason that I wanted this short, brief period of recess or pause was to see if I needed to arrange this room, rearrange it. But since I have freedom of the gap, I just move around. Okay. we have prepared handouts for you.
Yeah, it was counting because I don't have enough, so I was waiting to see how many really wanted them or not. Because some
Okay.
of them might not want them after the meeting.
All right. Do you, if you want this, because it's following everything that I'm doing, you can either listen or you're going to get packets on everything that we're doing.
Or I can provide more copies later if someone doesn't necessarily want them tonight.
Or you could take a risk and sit next to someone.
I can make some more copies while you're going, I just didn't want to miss
Okay,
something.
that's fine.
But I do think you might need to clarify something.
Yes, keep clarifying.
I think you need to explain that in a setting of a true trustees meeting, this wouldn't happen. You're mocking, this is a mock meeting.
Did anyone not get that?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I will.
No, you're all,
That during a regular trustees meeting, they wouldn't be yelling out possibly point of.
yes, sir.
Can somebody from the crowd call point of order or
No.
just trustees?
Trustees,
Just trustees only?
trustees.
Okay.
But you're all trustees right now.
You're all trustees right now.
Okay.
Anyone want it tonight or?
Great question.
Follow down, but I think we're
Right here.
It doesn't make
Great
sense.
question.
I was gonna make a
Yep,
copy.
just trustees. You put them there to represent and speak for you.
You're
Okay.
gonna want one tonight too? You want one
Good.
tonight?
Keep
I'll
asking
make one.
questions.
I'm down to one. I'll make some more. Do you want one for tonight?
Let's see. I'll go this way. Some of this may be, let's go this way. I'll wait. Now I'll go. When you're teaching, you have a group of, whether they're adults or children, whatever age they are, and you're outside, because I talk mostly outside, in the outdoors. And a red-tailed hawk flies over. And you can see every one of my students going like this. And I know they're gone. Sometimes they left me. And so you wait until they come back. Just a rule of teaching. Wonderful teaching moment, because then I'm talking about temper, and now I'm going to talk about red-tailed hawks. That's a wonderful moment of teaching. Official agenda. Who owns the agenda? The chair does not. That's a misnomer. Great question, good input, half credit. Okay, you still got it. The chair prepares the agenda. Hopefully, with the input of the other trustees. We prepare the agenda. So, can I offer, Mr. Chairman, offer something you'd like to put on the agenda? Just go ahead. Anything, I don't know.
Can we have casual dress day?
Okay, I move that we have casual dress day on Tuesday. All right.
A second.
All right. Here. Now, because the agenda has not been approved yet, your agenda hasn't been approved yet. Your agenda is still open, so I can move to have an item on that agenda. Okay? Then it goes to vote. It's been properly moved and seconded that we have casual dress down day. Is that close enough on Tuesday? All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? If it's in favor, it goes on the agenda before the agenda has been officially approved. If it's a no, negative vote, 2-1 no, it doesn't go on the agenda. Let's move on to the next item. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minute, approval of the agenda. Once that agenda is approved, that's it. That's the agenda. I'm going to do something here. Okay, I'll get to that as it comes down through here. Rules of debate. Madam Parliamentarian. Madam Parliamentarian. There's rules of debate here. All of of this, all of this, I can be corrected or clarified through Robert's Rules of Order. Either I'm a pretty good salesman, but you got to check me. Military, that which is in respect of deteriorates. That's it. You inspect. That's why we inspect our children. Okay. So now you know the official agenda. Rules of debate. Rules of debate are clearly outlined in this book here. What can you do, what can't you do, what should you do, what shouldn't you do. Rules of debate. There. Debate. Debate the issues, not personalities. Personalities are not on the floor. The issue is on the floor. And that's what you stick with. Okay? Just be courteous and kind. That's all there is. But make sure that you, by the way, you're, yes.
So if there's discussion of meetings going on, and one is perceived as not being courteous or kind, is it appropriate to say, point of order, you're being mean, or something?
Just go this way. If that is, because it is part of the Robert's Rules of Order, you as a trustee can say point of order. I, as a chair, state your point. Point is this. Okay. Point well taken. All right, and point well taken. Everybody knows what that means. Am I correct? Or point not well taken. Everybody knows what that means. Let's continue with debate. But point well taken, then wait a minute. Somebody is not following the rule of courtesy in this format. Make sense? I've called that before. And I've had that call on me before. Yeah, I don't believe it. Rules of debate. Somebody move this motion. You move this motion. Here's the motion that I would move that this section of the agenda be limited to participation and teaching to be 30 minutes.
I second it.
Okay, you move that motion.
So you're going to move it?
No.
Or you want me to move it?
I want you to move
Okay,
it.
so I move that motion that this debate will be 30 minutes.
This debate, this
On this
item of
topic.
teaching on this topic for 30 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second that this portion of the agenda, this teaching session, will extend for 30 minutes. Is there an amendment to that motion? Wait a minute, is there a second? Is there, okay, we debate, okay? And then somebody offered an amendment. And
No, we need discussion. I'd like to discuss the motion in a second.
Okay.
About the limitation of 30 minutes.
okay, we can,
I'm going to need about 35 minutes to make my point.
okay,
So that would be.
I'm going to have a discussion.
Okay, well, that I would have to amend the initial to get it.
That's right, you're going to have to
The
amend that.
time that you discussed.
Because I want you to amend it.
Right.
Because I need more than 30 minutes. And I know that. But I went for 30, okay? So amend the motion to say what? I move to amend the motion.
Well, I have some thoughts on the motion that I'd like to discuss, and it's going to take me about 35 minutes to
Okay.
discuss my thoughts.
So you would like to have the motion to have insert an additional 35 minutes or 5 minutes?
Correct.
So, which is it? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm going to need 35 minutes.
So-
On top of the 30 minutes.
so the
So
mo-
I'd
good,
like to
there it
make an
is.
amendment to
So
increase.
I move that we delete the words 30 minutes and add 65 minutes. Right? That's what you want.
I'll make
Okay?
that motion.
Okay, move that motion. Is there a second? The amendment, you move that amendment. Hearing none? Amendment fails. Back to the main motion. See, we're back over here now. That amendment failed. Okay? Here, somebody, so the amendment on the floor, the motion on the floor is that this segment of the teaching learning experience here, a line item, I'm talking budget, we just finished budget, item be held to 30 minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor for this session to last for a 30-minute period, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay, same. Motion carries. Bam, goes down, gets into the minutes. That's a motion, it's a decision that we made by vote. Let's deal with something that Mark brought to my attention before, which was a good item. Mark brings up an item that he would like to have on the agenda. Fair enough? Fair enough. Frequently. Did you see how he said that? Frequently. All right. The motion's that. The agenda hasn't been set yet. Am I correct, Mark?
Correct.
Okay. Motion it hasn't been officially approved. Brings up an item. The chair has a choice. Chair?
Yes.
You may wait. And wait as long as you want to see if there's going to be a second. Or you may expedite this process and say, is there a second? Okay. Or if you've waited long enough, you have that choice. Dies for lack of second. Now, that goes away. As a matter of courtesy, though, to my fellow trustee, I would say, is there a second? But I'm also doing something more than just a courtesy to my fellow trustee. I'm being courteous to your time. We just wait. No, I want to be courteous to you. You're the ones we serve. Okay, so to get going, get it in, get it out, it's done. Okay? So now, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for reminding me of this. That motion that did not receive a second, does it have to go into the minutes? You ask. Who asked that? You did. Sure. The answer is it didn't get to a vote. Doesn't have to go into the minutes. Doesn't have to. Can it go into the minutes? It can, if the trustees decide that they want it in the minutes.
But it states in Robert's rules that unless it's withdrawn, it is to be included in the minutes.
A withdrawal on that section, if you move to that section here,
You want the white book or your yellow book?
my page that I marked in here, we have that. Now, when you do that, unless it's withdrawn, by the way, you're dealing with the newest revision.
That's what we go by.
Okay, so you're dealing with the newest revision, but my wager would be, go ahead and look at that, Madam Parliamentarian. Just so you get that. What I want to reiterate this, is that as a matter of courtesy, because whether, as a matter of courtesy, as a chair, I would put it in. But I'm not going to, but it's a decision that these three make. Okay? If it certainly gets on the floor, then it must be in the minutes. Okay? If you withdraw a motion, certainly that doesn't have to. A motion can be made, we're going to talk about withdrawing a motion. If a motion is moved, second, debate, and even before a vote, the person who moved that motion, so how do you withdraw a motion? We'll come here. The person who moved that motion can say, Madam Chairperson, I would like to withdraw that motion. Second's not needed. Chair, you announce, motion withdrawn. It's withdrawn, it's done, we're finished with it. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next item. Now, Did you find that on the page?
It doesn't really say it here, so I don't know what page you're looking for.
Go to the bottom.
He's asking about
Withdrawing.
the second. He was asking about,
If a
it
motion,
has to be in there without, when it didn't get a second.
what's what you're saying?
In the version we use,
This version.
in 48 minutes and reports of officers, the body of the minutes should contain a separate paragraph for each subject matter and should show all main motions or motions to bring a main question again before the assembly that were made or taken up, except normally any that were withdrawn.
What number on 48 are you on?
It's 48, 4,
He's right here.
subparagraph 6. So the rules that we follow, they do get included unless it's withdrawn. And that's been one of my points of contention, that the board is not following that.
The language of that sounds like it should.
Correct.
That's what the language sounds to me like it should.
And I believe to properly reflect the order of the board, the business.
What
of the
item
board.
are you on page 48, should or shall? Main question.
Which one?
Should,
Shall.
is it should or shall?
He's on number 6.
Thank you.
48.6.
You know, we're taking 6.
There's 8.
48, 4, it's page
All main motions,
447.
10. Got it. Yes, 447. Or motion to bring to main question again before the assembly that were made or taken up, except those withdrawn. All main motions being a question.
So anyone, just
Should contain. It should contain a separate paragraph. It should. Let me stand with that understanding. Boy, we fight those words, those two words, should and shall. Okay. Should it? You decide.
Is that a board decision?
That's a board
That's
decision.
what I, okay.
Should it? Okay. Shall it? No, it shall happen. Okay. Good point, thank you. Point well taken.
but can I ask you a question? We had one meeting, it was a special meeting. There were probably 6 motions made after an executive session. If you read the minutes, executive session adjourned. And ORC requires us to, the minutes to properly reflect the business of the board. And I don't believe if you read that as it should, and we're just not going to put it in there, that if you watch the video versus the minutes, 2 totally different things. I don't think that meets ORC.
Can I make a
That's just
point
my
on that?
Yes?
Is in that particular meeting, he's talking about what we could have done in the minutes to reflect it was that he had made several motions that died due to a lack of second to reflect in that particular meeting that they didn't pass.
Should or shall?
It should. If the prosecutor's office sends up to this board,
You, the board
That's what I,
decides.
yeah.
The board decides on a should. Shall they don't? You taught me something tonight. You reminded me of something tonight. Here's what you reminded me of. Moving a main motion, moving a motion. You move the motion by saying what you're going to say, and you don't debate it in your motion. Move the motion. Here's what this is it. And then get a second, and then start debating. So stay concise to the motion. Okay? If we're not concise to the motion, I can offer you debate a half an hour on a motion I want. Just state your motion. Get your second. Now go to debate.
But if you don't get it,
You don't get what?
you don't get the motion.
If you don't get the motion, you don't get the debate.
You don't keep debating.
That's correct. That item is done.
Yeah.
And you move on to the next item on the agenda. Because all of you have had opportunity to put any item on the agenda that you wish if somebody else wishes to have it on there too. A motion means that somebody, just one person, wants to talk about this. Okay? But now you got to have 2 people that want to talk about it, there's your second. If 2 people don't want to talk about it, we move on. Have I done this, you ask? Somebody asked. Great question. See, I always gave points of participation. They finally learned fast. Here, I have moved a motion that I knew that I was going to vote against. But I've moved that motion in a positive light because I wanted to get that thing on the floor for debate. And do that.
What about withdrawing seconds?
You don't need to withdraw second.
At all, period.
No, okay. But the maker of the motion has to withdraw. Now, has to be the one to withdraw that motion. The second cannot. You don't need to deal with the second. Now, that brings me up to another point. That means I'm finished. Let's say a motion gets on the floor, second, gets debated, gets approved. Okay? Someone can, one of you trustees can say, I move to rescind the motion. Whoa. So I move to rescind that. I've had time to think about it now. And I think, wait a minute. I want to move, and I don't have to be the one to rescind that. I don't have to be the one that moved that motion. But I do have to be one that is on the prevailing side. If we moved that motion and I voted yay, okay, and now, but if I voted nay, I cannot rescind the motion. But if I voted yay, and I've given time for thought, being on the prevailing side, Madam Chairman, I move to rescind the motion. I was on the prevailing side, and then you state the motion. Bam. Now, either side, either prevailing or failing side, can second that motion. But to put it on the floor, to put it as a motion, you have to be on the prevailing side. And you ask, I know you did. That needs to be done during the meeting that motion was acted upon. It needs to be done that meeting. Okay? Or, or 3 meetings go, 4 meetings go by, 5 meetings, and you move. I move to reconsider that motion. And then you state that motion that I move to reconsider it. All right?
Does that have to be on the agenda at that point? If you're wanting to reconsider it?
You could have that. It'd be wise to put that on there. Now, let me put it, let me answer you this way. I move, Madam Chairperson, I move to rescind the motion such and such. Okay. Anybody can second it. I get a second? Yes? Ready? Somebody? Second. Then properly moved and second to rescind this motion specifically. All right. So now it's on the agenda. Now it's on the floor. I should say it's on the floor. Okay. If prior, I'm avoiding your question. I know that. No, it's not okay. There's a reason. If you've given proper notice, Mr. Trustee, if you've given notice to the voting body, then when that goes to vote, you'll need a majority vote to have that motion rescinded. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. If you did not give prior notice to the other voting body members, it's going to require a 2/3 vote. It's going to require a 2/3 vote in order for that to happen. So that's why prior notice or not prior notice makes a great deal of difference. You follow me on that? Say yes.
Yes.
I heard nothing out of these three guys.
I said yes.
Does that take care of understanding that on rescinding a motion and reconsidering a motion?
If we just, why would you rescind the motion meetings later if you just,
Because you still get the time to think about it.
no, but I'm saying, why would you just put it on the agenda as an item to vote the opposite direction?
You could do that.
Okay.
You could do that, put it on the agenda, okay? And that's where it would start with. Madam Chairperson, I'm requesting that this be put on the agenda, that I'd like to rescind this motion, so that's on the agenda now.
No, I'm saying not rescind, but just change it like we voted to replace those doors.
Okay?
Okay, I got on there, replace the doors. Well, 2 meetings later, I don't want to replace the doors.
Okay.
So make a motion that we don't replace the doors.
Okay.
And I get a second for it.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Is that not rescinding it? That's
That
just
is.
changing the vote, or?
No, you rescinded the motion.
We
You just
vote
took
on
that
to
primary
clarify.
motion away. Because the motion on the floor was, let's replace these doors. You got a second? A debate occurred?
Yeah.
A vote occurred? We're going to replace these doors.
Right.
Three meetings later.
Yeah.
3 meetings later, you said, wait, I don't know everything. Here, you get it on the agenda, rescind the motion up, and then you tell what that motion was. And then you offer that as a motion. Madam Chairman, I wish to,
So you have to rescind it before you would make the motion not to replace the doors?
no, you have to get that because you've already agreed. All 3 of you agreed to replace those doors.
Okay.
You do not have the authority as an individual trustee to not replace those doors. You 3 have to decide, this has to come back as a motion to rescind.
Okay.
I think what he was trying to get at is, do you have to call it a rescind, or if he makes a motion now just to not replace the doors, does that kind of over,
Oh,
without
yeah,
calling it a rescind?
Yeah.
You're right, yeah.
I mean, I can either rescind it or I can just make a new motion that would change.
Correct.
Okay.
Because that's
Because
what
a
that
new
motion.
nation and
You guys follow that?
really
There's
rescind
no
it.
call to rescind. I don't hear. I know what he's doing. He's rescinding that motion. Wait a minute, let me spend some time reading about rescinding a motion. You need to know how to do it. And you should be aware of how to do that. That's exactly what you're doing. What kind of vote do I need? Can there be discussion on it?
But I
We
would,
need to do a little homework on that.
but I'm not rescinding it, I'm making a new motion to not replace the doors.
You're rescinding the old motion not to replace those. You're rescinding the motion
Okay.
not to replace those.
So I can't make it a new motion, I have to make a rescinded motion.
You can make
Because
a
we've
new
already
motion.
made a decision on it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And because when you move that motion, well, I move that we don't replace these doors. Okay, and you've given notification, okay? Now you know you need, if you don't get notification, you need how many?
2
votes? 2/3.
Which we have anyways, if it's majority. See?
That's one of the benefits or one of the downfalls of 3
Yeah.
versus 5.
Okay.
Okay, so here, but you don't have to worry about whether you, wait a minute, I move to rescind them, no. Here, I move to not replace those doors, I now know it's a motion to rescind. But now you know the guidelines if you're going to rescind that motion,
Okay.
okay?
So
But you
basically,
can't-
it matters more if you have a 5-member board than a 3-member board.
on certain items and sometimes not. So it just, 3 is a joy to work with. Let me say that again. 3 is a challenge to work with. Okay? It falls both ways. Then comes when a decision is made, when a decision, I know this is hard to believe, but in many of the organizations that I'm a part of, decisions are made that I don't agree with. I don't agree with. Behind closed doors, we 3, I'm going to disagree with you. As soon as we open those doors and invite the public in, I'm going not to express my disagreement. I'm not going to do that because the majority won this argument. And that's the value. That's one of the great values of parliamentary law. The majority, The minority always has a voice. You always have any voice you hear, you have a voice. But the majority is to make a decision based upon the majority. It's not just fair. It's just. There's a difference between being just and being fair. Wow. I'm going to take that to the pulpit. Okay. We talked about withdrawing the motion. Before chair, we talked about amendment. After the chair amends the motion, we talked about here, division of the House. Division of the House is called. I'm, as a chair, I cannot, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign?
No.
I can't decide. I can't decide. Okay. So I'm going to call for division of the House. Somebody call division of the House. Ready, go.
Division of the House.
Oh, division of the House has been called. Division of the House means called that whoever called that believes that I made a mistake. I made a mistake in calling the wrong vote. And so the division of the House has been called. Therefore, we will have either a roll call or we will have a visual call. Raise your hand. Okay, this way those are named. So now the division of the House. And if I'm corrected, then chair stands corrected. Motion does carry. If I'm not corrected, motion stands. Okay. We talked about reconsideration of a motion. We talked about rescinding a motion. Passing the gavel. Oh, we talked about point of order. Pause, release, order. Oh, here. Say you'll like this one. Say, come on.
I like this.
All right. You don't want it. All right. Someone say, I call for the orders of the day.
I call for the orders of the day.
Okay, orders of the day have been called for. All right. Now, if there's not a second, I can just, if there's not a second, okay, if there is a second, then I gotta have 2/3 of the order. What's she talking about, orders of the day? Do any of you have any idea?
Nope.
Good. And you'd like for me to tell you, orders of the day simply says, I want to know what we're doing today. That's all it is. I call for the orders of the day. Chairperson can say, orders of the day have been called, orders of the day are as follows. And that's the agenda. Because you don't have that agenda. Okay? They have the agenda, maybe someone that, or someone called orders of the day. Someone called? Ready? Order. Oh my gosh, you don't get more. Orders of the day means that somebody in here is getting off the agenda, the approved agenda. It's gone astray. This item's not on here. It's way over here. And so orders of the day have been called for? Here. Jeff says, Madam Chairperson, I call for the orders of the day. And orders of the day are, and then here they are, that order of what we're discussing is not in order on the agenda. Therefore, that should not be discussed. That's why that point of getting those agenda items on there before it is officially accepted is so important.
Does order of the day require a second?
Order of the day.
Is that kind of making a point of order?
Orders of the day. Madam, point to that on there.
I was looking on your cheat sheet here. I don't see it on the cheat sheet.
It is.
Forms the group of the agenda and will forces the agenda to be called.
And
When used as a privileged motion, does not require a second,
Thank
is
you.
not debatable, is not amendable, requires 2/3.
requires 2/3 vote. Orders of the day requires 2/3 vote. Thank you, brother. I forgot to pass those out. Okay, not amendable, Non-debatable, right? I knew that, I just couldn't remember, so it's 2/3.
You have it on the bottom of here so we can fill it across.
Okay, there, thank you. Now,
We
why
had it down
2/3
here,
vote?
but it,
Right? Somebody said because it's taking a privilege away from a member. I want to talk about that. So, now, we're talking about our call for orders today. Orders they've been called for, non-amendable, non-debatable, requires 2/3 vote. All those in favor? You get 2/3 vote? No, that's the fall. We don't talk about that anymore.
So as an example for today's meeting, when chairperson skipped the minutes, if someone called orders of the day, you go into a 2/3 vote to determine if you're going to discuss that or not, correct?
That, if you want to discuss, which it was discussed, I know that the minutes were not prepared because a special meeting was called before expectation.
we just.
So that was.
No, I'm saying as an example of anything.
Yeah,
That is attempted to be skipped, another person can call orders of the day,
Yes.
a 2/3 vote.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And it's not debatable, correct?
Not debatable, not amendable.
It
Good
doesn't,
question.
and doesn't require the second, right?
It doesn't require a second, correct? It just says call orders a day or call. It doesn't require a second? I can't
No
remember.
second.
No second? Okay. No second, just orders of the day. Division of the House, another motion, withdraw motion before the chair amends with, after the chair. Motion personal privilege, kind of like a little recess. Chairman, Chairperson, I request a time of personal privilege, personal privilege. What that means is, I gotta go to the bathroom.
It looks like on your notes here for that calls of the order of the day, it says here in your notes, you have handwritten by, it has to be a motion on the floor. Does that matter?
Let's look that up. Mark, you got that, orders of the day? Would you look that one up? Would you, yeah, orders of the day are in there. And you'll look yours up as well, orders of the day. And let's go with the,
Yeah, on this one, it didn't really say, on the page it had marked here. That was on page 128, but it doesn't really say, but I noticed here, you have handwritten, it has to have a motion on the floor.
okay.
Because to the minutes would be a good example, because they didn't have a motion on the floor.
So
They skipped them.
let's just verify, because you're right, that text does not extremely clarify that. But Mark, let's see if yours does. See, the officer just had
It looks like in Mark's book, it would be 18, 1 through 11, if that helps.
You're a big one.
Premise.
You just had a privilege.
just had a personal privilege. And then he called for that?
No, he just took it. He's sergeant at arms, we
Someone
gotta get him to
So,
bed.
there you go.
I can see me going down the street now.
You wanna know what he drives?
Well, Marcus, clarification, yes, bro.
One thing I didn't see in here is recognition as speakers. It's my understanding that the president, the chairperson, if somebody wants to engage in debate, discussion, they ask to be recognized, and the chairperson then gives them the recognition they are seeking, ideally for them, for a certain amount of time, and then you can have organized debate discussion.
Here, you can limit to a variety of questions we just asked here. Recognition, yes, you can. The chair must recognize you. Okay, now, and Mark, I thank you again for this. It can either be formal or informal. You can eliminate certain things. For example, if the chair wants to be recognized, if I want to be recognized, I have to stand. Madam Chair, and 5, 6 people out here want your attention. Okay, in this particular setting here, that formality, and the general rule of thumb in parliamentary law is 20. That becomes a large group, 20. 3, 5, 7, 10, 12. And so you have what we spoke about before, the formal versus informal or small group. And so there are certain things you can drop in small group. Now, so,
Do we then, we adopt the small board rules as a default because we're a small board?
I don't know if there is specifically small board rules.
There are,
There are small board rules.
which addresses the more informality of
Okay.
it, which I believe. we
That's a
should
simple
do.
thing to do or not do. Someone with voting power moves a motion, requires a second. I would assume it requires two-thirds vote because you're restricting privileges of the voting body. So I'd assume it requires two-thirds vote.
But for us, every passing vote is a two-thirds vote.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so the answer is this, could you adopt it? Sure. Do you have to adopt it? No. But move a motion, see where it goes. But once a motion goes, privately, I'm going to approve that. I will. I won't, and I'll agree with it by not saying anything negative about it. I just won't do it. But once the issue is done, the issue is done. Unless, move to reconsider.
How many times can you do that?
Well, you can bring that back. You can move to reconsider. You can move to reconsider any motion. Any and all motions you can move.
And then it would die if no one recognized
It would die if no one receives a second with that. And
Get back to you have to be on the prevailing side.
you have to be on the prevailing side to offer that, to rescind. You have to be on the prevailing side. Okay. To reconsider, I can be on either side. But I get a given announcement if I really want a majority vote. Have you had enough? And Mark, I looked up small group. There, I looked that up real fast. Does parliamentary procedure apply to small groups? And it gives a small group, you can. There are rules for that.
Correct.
Okay. So if you want that, but here, so I'm going to close with this. Is that okay?
But, I have
Yes.
a couple questions, I guess, after you're done.
Yeah, no, right now is a good time.
Right now, about, and I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but you did answer one of my questions about order of agenda. And but as far as rules of calling the question and adjourning during speech,
When a motion is on the floor,
when a motion's on the floor
and debate is occurring,
and a debate is occurring,
and someone
a
calls
member
for
is
adjournment,
speaking
someone calls for adjournment. Is that the
while
situation?
you're speaking,
Yes, go ahead.
is that permissible? And also to call the question while they are speaking?
Two questions. See how you can call a question anytime. Okay, I call for the question. Okay. We're all out here. I'm going to move. You have the responsibility as the chair. You accept? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Out here. Ready? Someone call a question. Call for the question. It's on here.
Call for the question.
Okay. Don't have to do it fast. You're just calling for a question. Somebody else call a question. Call for the question. Don't have to do it fast. Now somebody call previous question.
Call for previous.
No, just previous question.
Previous question.
Ah, you got to deal with that. You got to deal with previous question. All right. Okay, so here, question means that somebody wants this thing to come to a vote. You're in the middle of this. I wouldn't disrupt you. I'd wait for you to pause, and then I'd question. Okay, there's no pausing. Question, and then somebody else calls. You're still here, and your question. Still have you. Okay. Previous question. Previous question has been called for. Previous question says this. Question means that somebody wants this thing to come to a close. Previous question says, I have to, now you're voting not on the amendment, but you're voting on stopping debate, stopping discussion on this. Okay, that's what previous question means. So you question all you want. Somebody says, previous question, and remember you all have voting power. Previous question has been called. We'll now proceed to vote on previous question. Previous question says, if passed, debate is over. The issue's not over, the main motion's still there, but debate is over. And so it requires 2/3 vote because you're taking the rights of someone else for debate. So a previous question's been called. That just means that the debate must come to an end. All those in favor of previous question? Aye or nay? 2/3 vote has to occur. You gotta make sure you have 2/3 vote. That ends debate. Okay, and you can respond to that in the middle that if I hear that previous question, that means Madam Chair, Madam President, you call previous question has been called. Okay. That goes back to here, and that is, sometimes you, and I've called previous question, and most people don't know what that means, but I've called previous question, and then I call point of order. Point of order, Madam Chair, point of order, I call point of order because previous question has been called. And then I have to explain to them what previous question is, they look it up and say, we gotta stop it. We come back here to just respect of each other. If I have someone, and/or you can at the beginning, you can determine the amount of time that each issue is debated or discussed. You can do that. You do that with the public, no more than 3 minutes. An item, you can do that collectively to say, no item will be discussed over 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or whatever it is. That, you can do that. Yes, sir.
Can the chair's decision on a point of order be challenged?
Yes.
And could you explain that process?
How you do that? You're in here, and point of order, state your point, and the point, and the chair then comes back to here, because now you have parliamentary, what do we call that, last part? It's a parliamentary ruling. It is, thank you for allowing me to delay.
Would you like to talk?
Got it. Parliamentary inquiry, please. Parliamentary inquiry. State your inquiry. I'd like to have a ruling on that particular, okay? That's that. Parliamentary inquiry. What does it say on yours? You've got it there in your hands, in your handouts. Parliamentary inquiry. There's no second, no debate, not amendable.
Here, it's right here.
Okay. Yes, right here. So you guys all have that. So the way you do that, brother, is parliamentary inquiry. I request a parliamentary inquiry. Madam Chairman, Madam Chairman, Madam Parliamentarian, would you please take the time to, and that's how that goes. And then she'll come back on that. So let's take care of it. Now, there's one other thing.
Well, to clarify, so you're saying that for interrupting discussion in the middle of, when a person has the floor, or a trustee has the floor, and there's an attempt to cut that short for either calling the question or adjourning.
Oh, adjourn.
4222 states that that should not be done, but you're stating that it is possible to call a previous question to end the debate, but for kind of the civil decorum of the board, that you should allow somebody to speak during their 3 minutes or whatever.
Is that the limit debate? Is that the limit or extend the debate section?
If there is no, you can extend it. That's, Madam President, or someone can put that on the floor. Just see, okay, on every item. Does an agenda have to be completed before adjournment is called? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
You're wrong.
He finally talked to us.
First time he's opened his mouth.
Brought the whole room to laugh.
No, you don't have to finish an agenda. Here, the agenda's not finished. That's okay, call for adjournment. That'll get back on the next agenda, all right? You don't have to finish an entire agenda. I'm not finished, I'm not gonna get, I will not, I promise you. When I get through this book, I won't do it tonight. And as I'm doing that, if I, as a matter of courtesy, I would allow my fellow trustee to finish. It was not too long. I would allow them, I would, as a matter of courtesy, it's just being kind to each other. And then I move for adjournment. Okay? You can do that, yes.
On that point of order, can a majority of the body override the chair's decision on a point of order?
Yes.
And how does that process?
That goes back in, if it goes back to parliamentary, well, when a point of order, if your point of order is well taken, then well taken, she'll announce.
Right.
If it's not well taken, point not well taken, parliamentary inquiry, please. And now you go to the parliamentary inquiry and say, wait a minute, I want to overrule because the parliamentary will deal with that.
Right.
And that's how you, wait a minute, I want that dealt with. So, what does parliamentary inquiry, what does parliamentary say? That the ruling was incorrect. Or better yet, go back. Well, you're calling for a point of order. And point of order can be for anything. Point of order is because, you call point of order because you don't believe that parliamentary law or procedure has been followed.
Yep.
Go to the parliamentarian and ask for parliamentary inquiry. That's how you clarify that.
But if you don't have a parliamentarian.
When you don't have a parliamentarian, then what you do is you check, Madam Secretary, Mr. Secretary, would you please check with parliamentarian, with the ruling to see if that's correct?
So then you go, I'll pull out your books and see what you figure out.
Well, you have that one.
I've seen that happen in other bodies,
Uh-huh.
and it's kind of been a fuzzy area, so there's been great debate between the chair and the parliamentarian and the body. Can the body take a vote to override the chair's decision on a point of order?
Let's say that point of order is for, that's an easy one. Let's say, I gotta think on it. Let's say that point of order because the chair has misannounced a vote, correct? Okay? You come back here, wait a minute. If it was me, I'm gonna make it simple. The chair may be correct on this. Let's re-vote on this particular motion. And you just re-vote on the motion. This time you do a hand vote or you do a visual vote, and now I know. And now the chair is corrected or not corrected. Let's just do another vote. And you can do that.
If he's done, after her, I got a good one.
Oh, I want to move a motion.
Oh, no, well, I have a good one.
Well, my question is, okay, if we're trustees, we're here, we're debating back and forth, and you feel like you got your 3 minutes in, and you decide your 3 minutes up, but you're going to become a resident, and so you stand up and become a resident and speak on your other 3 minutes. So,
She's talking like in a public comment setting.
so we allow residents 3 minutes.
Yes, yes.
And then we have 3 minutes for the trustees, to speak.
On any item.
Oh, any item.
Oh, only 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
One time. So
Good. I want to come back to that
back
because
or just state one time
on
statement.
debate, there are guidelines on debate. I think this is your question. If it's not, you say, Chris, this was not my question. Okay, so. All my mail, all my bills come Chris. They do. I knew that was going to throw me off. 3 minutes. are you saying, and then a trustee says, okay, I want to exceed my 3 minutes, and so I'm now going to take this other role.
Yeah,
Okay. The way to do that is to move a motion. Move a motion that would permit or not permit. That's how you do control that. You move a motion, one of the trustees moves a motion to either permit the extension of discussion or not to extend discussion. Somebody second it. If motion approved, you have another 3 minutes. Motion not approved, then your time is up. Now, I know what I'm going to say to you, because when you said that, you're permitted in your bylaws 1 point of discussion.
I think what she was referring to is that particular night, I don't think they had trustees' announcement comments on the agenda. So he stood up and talked under public comments as a resident.
What she's indicating is not extending the debate. It's separate from the motion that trustee comments and other adjournments after 5 seconds of speech were being done. So I spoke as a resident during public comments, which I have a right to. What he's discussing is separately the 3 minutes of one time, which then you can't have a debate or a discussion. That's just making a statement up to 3 minutes and you're done.
Let me talk about how you can do that.
okay, that's what
Kind of. But it's all up to you guys.
right, I understand.
Okay. So if you have a guidelines that any single item for any single trustee can only speak on that item for 3 minutes. All right. This is not going around the block. If Mark moves the motion, generally, he is the first that gets called on for debate. Okay? Mark then has to wait for that 3 minutes. For any other, you have to wait until, because you want everyone to have fair share of discussion.
Right.
Then you generally have a person who you've had all the opportunity to speak, a person then can speak a second time. Generally, if that's your guidelines. That's it, 2 times on a motion.
But this
And your
board's
guidelines,
limited
now
to
those,
one.
that's a should, not a shall. Now, the next item here is, I'm a trustee, and I want more than 3 minutes, and I don't care what you say, okay? Ross says, don't talk more than 3 minutes, that's all you hear. You can't, all of a sudden, I'm no longer a trustee, I'm going to be a participant, I'm going to be a resident out here. I've never seen that happen, don't know if it ever could happen, but you as a group can handle that by saying 2 minutes. You can speak twice on that, 3 minute limit, or you can speak 3 times. But then that comes back, ready? I think I've said this before. Respecting each other. And I don't always win. I just don't always win. And that's okay. I'm going to respect the vote of the majority. Sometimes I have to go. I just have to respect the majority vote. Mark, I hope that answers your question.
That was Ms. McKee's question.
Oh, I hope that answers your
You
question.
did, thank you very much.
All right.
I have a big one, but it's not one you and I discussed before.
Oh,
In
right.
the middle
A good
of
one.
this. It is a good one because we actually stopped the meeting and pulled our votes out. So if they make a motion,
If who makes a motion?
if one of the trustees make a motion,
Yeah,
and
move a motion.
they made a motion, and one of them voted yes, and the other 2 abstained, with the 3-member board, does it die?
No. You abstain? Yes votes? Yes vote wins.
According to our prosecutor or C, it requires 2 votes.
Because they require a 2/3 with
Oh,
those 3. So really, should they have
That's what I'm
rescinded
saying,
it?
these rules, even what's included in the minutes, ORC versus any other civic association or anything.
So now that we're learning this, would the better thing have been for them to rescind the motion if they really wanted it to die because they both abstained?
When you abstain, you really have to be cautious because,
Prosecutors are.
I know we
okay,
got the answer.
here,
See
The
what he said?
prosecutor, let's go back to here. Why is the possible? The first rule on dealing here is the law. First rule. Second, bylaws and constitution. Third, parliamentary procedure. Everything that's done here, everything that I've said, is all questionable and should be questionable to the law, bylaws, and constitution, and then we as parliamentary say, you've got to go back, you've got to use that, you've got to use the law to make sure you're correct. And if the law makes a recommendation to you trustees, my recommendation is follow the law. That answers your question.
Okay, let's say if we didn't have the law though, what would have probably been a cleaner way if you'd been here that night? To rescind it and start over?
Call the officer.
Yeah, we could, be the sergeant at arms.
He's a trustee, he's not an officer.
It left us scrambling because there was a couple of the residents, and we were pulling out our books and trying to figure it out.
All right. Move to have that item of discussion on the next agenda. Move on. Move to have that item. Don't deal with that item other than I move to have that, I move to contact the prosecutor and our attorneys to give us clarity on that item. And then move on to the next item. That's all there is to that.
Do you have to have a vote then?
No.
Because you had a motion and a
Well,
second.
you could.
Do you need a vote or not?
Yeah, if it's on the floor.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
So it's on the floor.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have to have a vote. Once it's on the floor, you have to have a vote on it. If it's not, if your motion's not removed by the person who made that motion.
If a vote has not occurred yet, okay, you're not going to remove it. You don't have to. You're just going to refer to.
Well, that one, they did have a vote, we just didn't know if it passed or it failed,
Okay, then
because
if-
one was a yes and two was abstaining, we
Then
didn't
put
know what
it,
to
then make
do.
sure that you check with your legal advice, and then put that back on the agenda for next meeting.
Can a motion be withdrawn after debate has started? I thought I read in here that it could, once debate has started.
I think it can. I think it can. Withdrawing a motion.
So what's the difference between a withdrawal and a rescind? Because I'm wondering after learning tonight, maybe we could be a rescind.
Here, and look at, that motion could be rescinded. But the easy way to take care of it, because you can apply parliamentary procedure to many different things, you know, to call for. But
Yeah, you said they could withdraw as long as it was the same meeting.
no.
I mean, rescind during that
Rescind.
meeting. They could rescind if it was
That
that
same
same
meeting, it can be rescinded, okay?
meeting.
And that motion could, here, one of the other ways to handle it, I rescind the motion based upon, I would rescind my motion based upon clarification by our attorneys.
But the rescind is after a vote. Can a withdrawal be done before a vote? Is that the
Yes.
difference?
Yes. Now,
So you can leave stuff out on the floor
oh, yeah,
and in the meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
All right.
yeah, you don't have to finish this agenda.
Well, I'm talking about a motion and a second, and then there's debate. Do we have to vote or can we just?
Oh, yeah, that, no, or you use another motion to put that thing someplace else.
Okay, so
You can move it to the table,
So you can
Say
rescind
table
it
it.
or you can motion to table it, right?
motion to table it. Now, can that be amended? Julie asks. I knew she did. Okay, I would amend, I move that item be moved to, placed on the table. Second? Yes? I'd like to amend that motion. That be brought back to the next meeting. That's when I want it back to the next table, next meeting. Make sure that that gets in there.
Do you all, when you table it, do you always have to put the date you're bringing it back, or can you table it indefinitely?
You can put something here, you can have things to be definitely. I move that motion definitely. Now you have that in your items there, or you can move that motion to be indefinite. Indefinite means, as you'll see in the papers, that's a quick way of getting rid of something. It's indefinite, I'll bring it back when we decide to bring it back.
Yeah, that's
If you move it definitely, then you'll want to put a time when that thing's going to be brought back. Moving it definitely, moving it indefinitely. So let's say that Mark moves that motion and debate, and he sees, wait a minute, I'm not getting what I want. Mark could make him another motion. I move this motion to be, I move this motion to be tabled. I can move this, somebody else. I move this motion indefinitely. Indefinitely. Or definitely. I move this item to be moved to definitely. And that means then you can say when it's going to come back. Identify the date when the thing's going to come back. And that date when it's going to come back is going to be as part of the motion after our attorney reviews. Oh, you had something very important. Oh, that was it.
No, that wasn't my very important.
You have a motion? Yes, move your motion, please.
You want me to move my motion?
Yes.
I move that Laura Brown gets a raise of $3 an hour. Second.
Discussion. When properly moved to second, Laura Brown receives a salary increase of $3 a month. $3 an hour.
I know.
$3 an hour. Has been probably moved to second. Is there any debate? Is there any amendment? Offer an amendment to say no, $5 an hour. Come,
No, $5.
give her a little love. Give her a little love. All right, and then you follow the whole process.
Yes.
So here's my closing here.
You thought you were going to need someone to make silly motions and they play along. You didn't even need that motion.
We didn't even vote on it.
Question.
Yes.
Before you make your closing, I just had a couple questions I'm going to ask you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time being a third party and come in and trying to help this board get along. I hope you haven't done all the research and solved previous issues. We mentioned a few of them. My first question is the proper process to get items on the agenda. That's been a contention amongst the board, getting items on the agenda, getting it back on the agenda. So how would you recommend, or what's the proper procedure to get items on the agenda?
Perfect, wonderful. I think I've used the word courtesy.
Yeah.
Now, the president prepares the agenda. The board approves the agenda. As a matter of courtesy, if I was president, if I held the gavel, the chair, which we do now in the meetings that I oversee and participate in, 1 week before, an email comes out and says, do you have any items that you'd like to have on the agenda? Our president sends that out. And then I and the other board members send them agenda items that we would like to see on the agenda. Okay. Now, I don't know how many items they've sent. I know there's a time restriction. And so what we do then is we allow the president to prepare the agenda with the input of all the trustees. In my case, all the directors. And then when I don't see that, because she's the only one, because all of you are directing, or you guys are directing this, but all these items are coming in. And then, based upon the courtesy of you, the residents that we serve, and trying to understand your priorities, that's what gets placed on the agenda, based upon your priorities first, the residents, and secondly, time restraint. I know it's hard to believe, but there are times I don't get agenda items on. Okay, and that's okay. Because I know that I have the opportunity, if I don't see it on there, to then request that through a motion, to have that item placed on the agenda.
As a resident, I would like to see the board get away from that argument back and forth about this item not being placed on the agenda, or these items not being placed on the agenda, and some feedback between the trustees to allow, okay, well, we'll make time to make this a priority the next meeting, but this took a priority this meeting. There's a lot of that debate not happening, and it's coming through the board, it's the residents are seeing it, trying to improve the communication, because you mentioned earlier about emotions versus actions. We're trying to get more actions. There's a lot of emotions that are clouding the action or the effectiveness.
A lot of residents cloud it.
That's your opinion.
But, well, actually,
You said debate, Ryan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but debate, did you say debate on that? So how would we debate if we're just saying we like items on the agenda? Because you were saying that they debated how they got on there?
The challenge to get, first we got to get items on the agenda, or first items have to be on the agenda that maybe not all the board wants to discuss, or the chair wants to discuss. So as items get to the agenda, it gets to the floor, there's a motion to have the discussion following a second. That's my second question is, the board is struggling on some issues, without going into details, to get seconds to have proper discussion. So that's degrading the meeting because there's a lot of discussion happening prior to the second because of the lack of second on prior motions. There's not a lot of good debate being had amongst the trustees on behalf of the residents, in front of the residents, to understand what the trustees are doing and how they're making their decisions. So it's important that our first items get on the agenda and how we get away from that, where if one trustee wants to get an item on the agenda, maybe knowing it's going to fail, but you don't know until you get to the debate. So first it's got to get on the agenda to see if any minds change. And second, it's got to get to the debate phase to find out if that's, and then we understand where the trustees stand. And if it's a 2-1 vote against or for, we understand. But a lot of things are not being discussed. And I guess that's the two main issues that I think are overflowing into other issues and creating tension that should be on board.
But what if the majority doesn't want it on there, and they're showing that by their process, which is legal?
Well, basic principles by the form we just got here, it says, what are the reasons for parliamentary law to focus on one thing at a time, to extend courtesy to everyone, observe the rule of majority, and observe the rights of minority. So it's the minority's right, even if it's one trustee, to get items on the agenda. So that's what I'm trying to say, because it should not just be, the whole room knows one trustee is fighting certain things, one trustee is fighting certain things, and one trustee is fighting certain things. They all should have an equal right to it, and if they want to come represent their one item to see if the other board, after discussion, wants to make a decision in their favor or in what the way they're leaning, that discussion needs to happen. So we need help in.
I think if you stop having all the drama and having other people jump in and argue about their points, and let the trustees settle in between them without a lot of bickering, maybe it would move smoother. But that means the people out here also have to stop standing up and picking and complaining, because it kind of convolutes the whole process.
What do you, that's a two-part question, I talked way too much, but what do you think on both things, and how can we help the board get better at two of the things?
Both of you can help each other. It comes to my dog. If you talk about nothing amongst yourselves, you don't talk amongst yourselves about nothing. You'll never talk about something. Never. So that's what happens with boards and with Congress. And they get on these sides of it. You got to talk about something. I'm going to answer you. At 12 years of age, I made a mistake. I left the discipline of my son to me, the discipline of my daughter to my wife. My wife is not a disciplinarian. My daughter finally, very quickly learned that if she says no enough, she yells, she fights back, then Mama's just going to go ahead and play with her. Mama's going to go ahead and do that. At 12 years of age, I said, that's it, period, there's no further discussion. That's not my part. I'm going to take over the discipline of my daughter. Every Tuesday night, from 7 to 7:30, every Tuesday night, from 12 years of age, you're going to sit in this room with me, and we're just going to sit there until we start talking. And weeks went by, and she said nothing. And then, all of a sudden, she started saying something. We started talking about nothing. Today, my daughter comes to me and talks about something that's important to her. You'll never start talking about something until you start talking about nothing. And you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to talk. can't make decisions. Now, you're allowed to talk. I can talk. Okay?
Or is it we cannot discuss board items outside, only in executive session under each specific.
Is that a ruling from your?
That's Ohio Revised Code.
Get a ruling from the.
We can talk about non-township stuff, but discussing, you cannot discuss anything. Now, we can talk about someone's birthday, 4th of July, or anything to be civil, but that's where I've been pushing that we need more discussion on items here.
Well, taking on this is here, because I heard that in the minutes that I listened to. Okay, if I were you to appoint here, I would do two things. For all of you. One, I would give legal ruling on that.
We already have.
Okay, is that true? You already have? On talking about certain things you can and cannot talk
Well,
about?
you did the training, you know sunshine laws, it's under the sunshine law. But I think some people take it too far and take it out of, we can't, like you just said.
We have an opinion from our prosecutor
We
stating.
can discuss birthdays, just,
No
but
township
no
business.
township business. Just like we had a meeting here months and months ago with Morpsey that showed up, Middle Ohio Regional Planning Commission. And we were here in the room. They've been doing this for 20-some years. They go around to the townships every year to visit, and they meet with the trustees. Okay, we sit here, they discuss. There's no discussion of township business or making any decisions. They're just discussing. But of course, it went a little bit further, that they would be reported if they talked about any township business. And I think with 20-something years under their belt, I think they probably know what is the sunshine law and what's not, what's going to be discussed and what can't.
What Ms. McKee
But
said, you can
we
listen, but you
can listen,
can't discuss. The whole
So
point
it
is
was, and they've been doing it for 20-something years. So I think sometimes we need to, kind of understand what it really means.
I think you guys have a meeting coming up with the prosecutor's office, I get it
Oh, yeah.
clarified,
Get
but
it
you
clarified.
recommend it, get it clarified.
Yeah, we do.
That's
That's
Get
it.
it clarified,
Get it
where it
clarified.
draws
Okay
the
with
line.
it.
Here's the final authority.
the law.
That's
The
right.
law's constitutional law. And here, we're in situations on two boards at one. Follow the law.
That's right.
Follow the law. Your next part of your concern, your contribution. Remember, trustees, offer a motion, not a motion in debate. Offer a motion. Let everything else be in the form of debate, if it gets on the floor. If you follow this, it really does move quickly. Now, the first 2 points, read the first 2 points again, brother. On the purpose of parliamentary.
Yeah, it says to focus on one thing at a time.
Okay, now the next one.
Extend courtesy to everyone.
Okay, and the third.
Observe the rule of the majority.
Rule of the
Respect
majority.
the vote.
Okay, and the last one, you
Ensure the rights of the minority.
and you ensure that by listening to them. I'm not going to get my way all the time. I'm not going to get it on the floor all the time. But I've extended you the courtesy of listening to you. I'm just not going to get it all the time my way. And that's
Well, when you're suggesting an agenda item, it doesn't go into the detail of maybe what the agenda item is going to be voted on or not voted on, maybe just discussed. So getting items on the agenda is a challenge. We'd like to see more items, diverse items from all board members get on the agenda.
And how would you do that? Like you said, that exactly right. You're right. So how would you do that ahead of time to get it on there?
Do you guys send, Madam Chairperson, the agenda items that you wish to have on the agenda?
They're not requested, and the agenda is created before standard times. It was stated before, please have your agenda items at a certain date, and then it's set before that.
Now,
You've sent items.
okay, so the answer is
No.
no.
But I do send them.
Okay, so do you send
Well, I don't think we've been posting it early, because you guys wanted it posted by Friday.
I'll call Lauren actually, and think you can have her, I'll put this on the agenda. I say that too.
questions on it. It might help, Madam Chair, if you posted it early to the trustees. They can look at it to see if it's on there or not. We look at it, and then we're given a second chance, if that item's not on there, to request again, because I don't know what all everybody's requested put on, and you have to prepare that.
Would it be beneficial if it didn't get on there and you requested on there, but you know what one of the other trustees weren't on there, that you would contact them somehow and say, hey, I would like this agenda, would you support that? Would that be acceptable or not?
Well, you would go through the chair.
Amend
Go through the chair.
And should we receive the agenda before it's sent out so we know if what's on there we need?
That is a matter of courtesy.
Okay.
I would show you courtesy.
Okay.
I would show you that.
Because I just see it when the public gets.
No, as a courtesy,
I would expect that.
and as a point of preparation, because I've got these items and these other items, and I have these other questions I have to formulate.
And that's what I did.
And I saw that tonight, so as a matter of courtesy, that
That should be done.
that should be done. That's what I would do. But it doesn't ensure that I get all my agenda items on.
Correct.
Okay. Does that help answer you? Move the motion, don't move the motion and add debate to it. Get a second and then move on.
It does, I mean, and it'd be good for all trustees to understand why their items don't get on the agenda, maybe discussed either in the open meeting or in a reply email, be like, I couldn't get this item on because, or anything like that. Just, like you said, anything to encourage communication and communication with them.
I would not communicate, I would not have communications ongoing during the meeting on that. I just know it's not on there. You know it's not on there. Have a talk, not during the meeting, time is precious. We know it's not on there. But Madam Chairperson, my item wasn't on there. And she knows why she didn't put it on there. We don't have time. We have all these other items that we need, or other reasons. And I just have to trust each other. There's a point. You got to trust that these three people up here have your best well-being at heart. Now, if you don't here, then nothing's wrong with you. Something's wrong up here. It's like communications. It's like communications. She finally started talking to me about something. There's 4 points of communication. About 9%. Communications is written, reading, writing, reading, speaking, and listening. Research says that 9% of communications is written. About 16% is read, is in reading. About 30-35% is in speaking. 50-55+% is listening. You're going to tell this board loud and clear what's on your heart. Okay? And you're going to record, I would say, as you give your presentation, what do they call it?
Public comment.
As you give your public comment, and we're back here. Now, don't enter into, answer, debate, anything on public. You're taking that's your opportunity to say, this is what's on my heart. And then, with that, then you make a note, or you ask Madam Secretary, Mr. Secretary, please make a note of that so that I remember, or you make a note of it so that you remember it. No, that's a good agenda item. And now if you hear that, because now you're going to see that return, that's a good agenda item. And it sounds like the majority of you are interested in that item. I better get it on my agenda. Because why are they here? To serve you. That's why we're here. Saying all that, of all the students that I've ever taught, that's not true. I stand corrected. Of all the high school students that I ever taught, all my high school students, they're now, my oldest high school students are now in their latter 50s, early 60s. Every year we have a reunion with they and their families families and their children and grandchildren every year. That's what they want. Okay, they want to come back together with Mr. Griggs. Okay. And so here was my method, and I send them every week. For years, every week, I send my kid, because when I started class, I would put up here on the board words of encouragement. Their greatest punishment any kid ever came through with me was, you gotta walk with me. You just gotta take a walk with me. Now, high school kid, now, you don't have to listen. You don't have to listen. But I want you to hear. Just hear. And that hearing came back as listening in their later lives, like our children do. And so every week I send to all my kids words of encouragement. I've done that. When I don't, they call me. All these years they do. These 60-year-old kids. So their New Year's is my same New Year's message of encouragement to all of you. And that is here. Reflecting on the past with a vision towards the future is christened as a new year. If the past and the future are identical, the new year is but a ditto, when its intention is to create a new origin. Now this year, this can either be a happy ditto, or it can be a happy origin. And they're going to be begging for one or the other, and you're going to make a decision on whether this is going to be a happy origin or a ditto. Now, my last comment. Okay. This was last week's message to him. Mike Dion sent me this. He was one of my former students. He had sent out this week. Why is it we open every meeting? I've heard every meeting. We open it with an invocation. Is that right? Every meeting. Why is it that when we speak to God, we're said to be in prayer, but when God speaks to us, we're said to be delusional? All relationships begin with two-way communication. If that doesn't happen, you don't have communications. Two-way. And 55 plus is listening. Now, a good night? Yes, yes, yes. All in favor of having a good night, yell, yeah, good night. Yeah. All right, good night. All those opposed? Never mind. Okay. Cool. Okay. That's it. That's it. With that, Madam Chair.
Motion.
Could I make just one comment?
Yes.
To kind of summarize it, because I think we do, I think we do need to move forward, especially this new year and that. So kind of the main points I got from you, and I want to see if I got this correct, to encourage that discussion and that amongst ourselves.
Yes.
You know, we could limit speech 3 minutes, but you're suggesting that it's 2 times that we can kind of have a back and forth discussion, just make statements. And then also, you would recommend that the president send out the proposed agenda, and then we could offer any kind of requested items.
Sure.
And then what about meeting materials? Should those be provided to the board, resolutions
If they
and
need to be
stuff?
reviewed before, yeah. Send them out before, yeah.
Is your recommend? Okay. I think that would help facilitate a lot of business on this board.
Good point. Can that happen, by the way? Madam Chair? Yeah. Sure. All right.
All right.
Bam! Yeah, you got it, brother. You got that.
All right, Trustee Maddox, motion that.
With that,
I'll make a motion to.
I hand the chair back to you.
Thank you.
Give it back, the board makes your motions.
I make a motion
No.
to adjourn, moved by myself. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. The time is,
Now, I do have a question, Laura. All those motions that were seconded by the trustees, are they in the minutes?
Majority of the board said no.
Well, no, they were seconded.
All these, no, because you're in a work session with Chris.
When somebody does that.
Well, he was the chair.
If somebody does that, I always say, you know, that was stupid. And I say, that was funny. Yeah, that was funny.